Hey everyone, in this Street Fighter 6 how to take a photo video, that's exactly what I'm going to show you. So if you're doing a quest where you need to take a photo of a master, all you need to be doing is moving away from the master and round about here, off the top of my head, Eddie Honda and Ryu required this, you should see a prompt that enables you to take a photo. If that's not the case and you just want to take a photo, I'm going to show you the powerful photo mode now. So let's say we want to take a photo with Chun-Li here. So I'll move my character so we're sort of side by side. I can fine tune it in a minute. And then what I'm going to do is hit the screens button and then select camera with A, so that would be X on the PlayStation. So when you're in this mode, we've got all sorts of controls and we're going to walk through them all now. So the left stick, as it shows down the bottom left hand side, is move camera. So if you're on a different platform to one using a controller, you'll see a different button down there. Right stick rotates the camera. And then we've got left trigger and right trigger moves the camera up and down. Now that would be L2 and R2 on the PlayStation. To reset the camera, you can press the right stick button and it'll take you back to the default view when you first went to take a photo with the camera system. Now we've got the move cursor / change is using the D-pad, and this refers to the little tooltips that you see just below my head here. And this basically cycles us all through these, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. Let's just finish off those bottom controls though. So the change NPC poses changes the pose of all the non-player characters. So if we hit the left stick button, check it out, we get a pose and we get more interest looking around, and you can see quite a few characters will actually change in the shot. So the lady behind Chun-Li also moved her pose as well. So if we do it again, that's a pretty cool pose, check that out. And then one for Chun-Li there, another one. We can just keep going through. So let's go with this pose. And you can see I look a bit, or rather my avatar looks a bit crazy here with his camera sticking up. So we're going to fix that in just a minute. The other thing I want to point out here is if you want to turn the HUD off, you can do that with X or whatever button it shows down the bottom of the bar. So that would be square on the PlayStation, and everything hides. You can still move around, but of course we've not got access to any of the controls, but that's probably what you want for your final pose. So you can see that's getting there. I quite like that pose of Chun-Li. So let's get our HUD back on and go through some of these different things. So on the first page here, we can adjust things like the rotation. So we could go with a slightly rotated look, a little bit dynamic if we wanted. We could adjust the brightness. So we could up that or lower it. We could go with more or less contrast. We could also go with selfie mode, which can be quite interesting. So this will move to this camera angle, and then we could move things around a little bit, but that could be useful if we were just in front of Chun-Li and we wanted to do that sort of look. The next thing that we've got, one thing to bear in mind here, if you mess any of these up, if you move over to them, you can use the reset button, which for me is Y, and it will change it back to where it was, so you can just choose whatever makes sense to you. Now, if we go to RB, so RB moves me across a little sort of sub-menu here, that would be R1 on the PlayStation. We can then mess around with things like the zoom, the focusing distance, depth of field, film grain, and simple blur. So the focusing distance doesn't seem to do a great deal for me on here. Neither does depth of field, but I suppose it depends what's in the scene. So they may sort of adjust depending on what you're taking a photograph of. The film grain will add a bit of grain to it. So you can see it's a bit of a heavy effect there. I don't really like that. And there is an option to simple blur, but again, that doesn't seem to do much here for me. So quite cool is you can hide your avatar if you want. So if you just want to focus on the characters, you can do. You can show an expression. So if I do this, check it out on my character's face, a little expression there. So we could go with that, but more importantly, I think, is the pose option. So we can get rid of that camera and have a little pose instead. So we could go with whatever we think is a cool pose here. And then we could think about, can we get something, a bit nicer in terms of the position between the two characters. So we can see that looks a bit cheesy. So I could try flipping the pose, see whether that looks a little bit better, slightly maybe. I can also rotate my avatar a little bit. So we could go like that. And then just keep going through and see whatever pose we like the look of. In terms of, you can see some of them are quite dynamic as well. So you could do something like that and then flip the pose. But I can't move my character, I'd have to move my character, but we could go with that sort of thing with the Hadouken. And some of these poses, I think, will be added when you get more sort of bond with your masters as well. So you may find you get more of these over time as well. So let's go with maybe that one is quite cool. I don't know. Or maybe that one. I quite like that one. So we can rotate the camera, the avatar. So we just have him a little bit more in there, and we probably want to have a slightly nicer look. So you can see he can be quite grumpy or quite happy. That's quite nice. So let's go with that. So let's see if we can just tighten this in with the camera in a minute. So we'll just see whether we can get a nicer looking color. So the blues look quite nice there, sort of blue sort of pose there. I think that's probably the best one that we've got for this particular camera style. We'll just quickly flick through and see if anything beats it, but I quite like that blue. We could also see if an effect works well. So this adds some sort of post effects to it, but in this case I don't think this particular one suits it. We can also add various stickers and logos to it, so we could have a little heart on here and put this wherever if we want. I don't particularly like those though, so I'm going to hit back and get rid of the stickers and logos. You could also have a border on here like this, so just to add a little bit of interest. There's quite a lot of them, as you can see. It's quite interesting, isn't it? And then you know, we're sort of at a point now where we just want to tighten up the angle a little bit and try and get a good shot. So let's see if I can do that. So we could go like that. And maybe that would work slightly better if they were a little closer together. So I would have to repose to do that, but that's looking quite nice to me. So we could maybe consider, let's go with that. Focusing distance, we'll just reset that. And I think that's pretty good really. So we could just flick through these and just see whether there's anything that looks nicer. I quite like that sort of look. So we'll go with that, and then we'll just move the camera just to make that work slightly nicer maybe. So we'll go just adjust that zoom slightly. Now we're ready. So there we go, we'll hide the HUD and we're good. We've got our photo. And that's it, my friends, that's how it works. So of course then you could just screen grab that or do a little screenshot on your computer or whatever, and all is good. So that's how the photo system works. If that was good for you, do let me know. And yeah, if it was helpful. So there you go, that's how the photo system works. I hope that was useful to you. If it was, give us a thumbs up please, that's much appreciated. Any comments welcome. I'll see you again in another video.